Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. You know, relationships are like trying to dance with two left feet. Sometimes it's a little clumsy, sometimes you step on each other's toes, but when it works, it's pure magic. Today, we're diving into a topic that many of us can relate to, emotional baggage in relationships. We all have a little bit of it, right? Like that one sock that disappears in the dryer. Sometimes it just pops up when you least expect it. Stick around as we uncover the 10 signs your partner might be carrying some emotional baggage. And by baggage, I'm not talking about that extra pair of shoes they swear they needed for vacation. We're talking about the emotional kind. Chapter 1. Can you ever really let go? Okay, first up we have trust issues. Now, trust is like a delicate little flower. It takes time and care to blossom, but one wrong move and it wilts faster than you can say bouquet. If your partner has been hurt before, maybe someone forgot to water their flower, they might have a hard time trusting again. It's like they're constantly looking for the catch, waiting for the other shoe to drop. They might question your every move, check your phone, or even accuse you of things you'd never dream of doing. And believe me, being on the receiving end of that is about as fun as a surprise visit from your in-laws. But remember, it's not always about you. Their past experiences have shaped their ability to trust, and it's important to approach the situation with empathy and understanding. Just like that sock in the dryer, sometimes trust goes missing, but with a little patience and communication, it might just reappear. And when it does, hold on tight. Chapter 2. Walls up, avoiding emotional intimacy. Let's talk about emotional intimacy, folks. It's the warm and fuzzy feeling you get when you can truly be yourself with someone. It's sharing your hopes, your dreams, your deepest fears, like that time you accidentally called your teacher mom. We've all been there, right? But for someone carrying emotional baggage, emotional intimacy can feel about as comfortable as a wool sweater in July. They've been hurt before, so they build walls higher than a giraffe's kneecap to protect themselves from getting hurt again. You might notice they have a hard time opening up, sharing their feelings, or even just saying I love you. It's like they're speaking a different language, the language of closed-offness. Now, it's important to remember that everyone expresses love differently. Some people shout it from the rooftops, and others leave little love notes in your lunchbox. But when someone consistently pushes you away emotionally, it might be a sign they need a little extra love and support. Chapter 3. Is it me or is it them? You know what they say, if you don't have anything nice to say, come sit by me. Just kidding. But seriously, folks, constant criticism can be a real downer in a relationship. It's like having a little voice in your head constantly telling you you're not good enough. Now, constructive criticism can be helpful, like when your best friend tells you that neon green really isn't your color. But when someone is constantly nitpicking and criticizing everything you do, it can be a sign of deeper emotional baggage. It might stem from their own insecurities or unresolved issues, and they're projecting those feelings onto you. Kind of like when you blame the dog for eating the cookies, but you know deep down it was you. Remember, communication is key here. If you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, it's important to address the issue head-on. Let your partner know how their words make you feel and encourage them to explore the root of their critical behavior. Chapter 4. The past is calling and it wants its baggage back. We all have a past, right? It's like that photo album on your parents' bookshelf filled with embarrassing childhood pictures and questionable fashion choices. We laugh about it now, but sometimes the past can cast a long shadow. When someone is carrying emotional baggage from previous relationships, it can be hard for them to fully move on. They might compare you to their ex, bring up past experiences at the worst possible times, or even try to recreate dynamics from their past relationships. It's like they're stuck in a time warp, and believe me, no one wants to relive their awkward teenage years. If you find yourself constantly competing with a ghost from your partner's past, it's time to have a heart-to-heart conversation. Encourage them to let go of the past and focus on building a future with you. After all, you're the best thing since sliced bread, right? Chapter 5. When emotional baggage weighs you down. Let's talk about mental health, folks, because it's just as important as physical health. Emotional baggage doesn't always show up as anger or trust issues. Sometimes it manifests as anxiety or depression. Think of it like this. Imagine carrying around a heavy suitcase everywhere you go. It weighs you down, makes it hard to enjoy the journey, and sometimes you just want to drop it and run. That's what carrying emotional baggage can feel like. If your partner is struggling with anxiety or depression, it's important to approach the situation with empathy and understanding. Encourage them to seek professional help and offer your unwavering support. Remember, you're not a therapist, but you can be a loving and supportive partner. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is just be there for them, listen without judgment, and remind them that they're not alone. Chapter 6. Anger and emotional baggage. Alright, let's talk about anger. We all get angry sometimes, right? Like when you're stuck in traffic and someone honks at you even though you haven't moved an inch in the past hour. Or when you reach for the last cookie and it crumbles before your very eyes. But when someone is easily triggered and their anger seems out of proportion to the situation, it could be a sign of unresolved emotional baggage. It's like they have a short fuse, and even the smallest things set them off. Now, it's important to remember that anger is often a secondary emotion. It's like the tip of the iceberg, and underneath the surface there might be hurt, sadness, or even fear. If your partner has a tendency to blow their top over spilled milk, it's important to address the underlying emotions driving their anger. Encourage them to communicate their feelings in a healthy way and seek professional help if needed. Chapter 7. When talking is tough. You know what they say? Communication is key. It's like the oil that keeps a relationship running smoothly. But when you're dealing with emotional baggage, communication can feel like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Past experiences can make it difficult for someone to express themselves openly and honestly. They might shut down, avoid difficult conversations, or even resort to passive-aggressive behaviors. It's like they're speaking a different language, the language of bottled-up emotions and unspoken resentments. But just like learning any new language, it takes time, patience, and a whole lot of practice. If you're in a relationship with someone who struggles with communication, encourage them to open up at their own pace, create a safe and non-judgmental space for them to share their feelings, and remember that listening is just as important as talking. Chapter 8. Clingy much? Overdependence and emotional baggage. We all love a good cuddle buddy, right? Someone to watch cheesy rom-coms with and share a pint of ice cream after a long day. But there's a fine line between being affectionate and being overly dependent in a relationship. When someone is carrying emotional baggage, they might become overly reliant on their partner for validation, reassurance, and even their sense of identity. It's like they need constant attention and affirmation to feel good about themselves. Now, it's important to be supportive and loving, but it's also important to maintain healthy boundaries in a relationship. Encourage your partner to develop their own interests, nurture their own friendships, and build their own sense of self-worth. Remember, a healthy relationship is about two whole individuals who complement each other, not two halves trying to make a whole. Chapter 9. Is love really dead? You know that feeling when you watch a sappy rom-com and you're like, that would never happen in real life? Yeah, some people take that feeling to a whole new level. When someone has been hurt repeatedly in the past, they might develop a cynical view of love and relationships. It's like they've built a fortress around their heart, convinced that love is just a recipe for disaster. They might make cynical comments, dismiss your displays of affection, or even sabotage the relationship before it has a chance to blossom. It's like they're allergic to commitment, and even the thought of a happy ending sends them running for the hills. Now, it's important to remember that cynicism is often a defense mechanism. It's a way to protect themselves from getting hurt again. If you're in a relationship with a relationship cynic, be patient, be understanding, and most importantly, don't take it personally. Chapter 10. When emotional baggage affects self-worth. Last but not least, let's talk about self-esteem. It's that little voice inside our heads that tells us we're worthy of love, happiness, and maybe even that last slice of pizza. But when you're carrying emotional baggage, that voice can get drowned out by self-doubt, insecurity, and even self-sabotage. Past experiences, especially those involving rejection or abandonment, can chip away at our sense of self-worth. It's like looking in the mirror and only seeing our flaws, never quite measuring up to our own expectations or the expectations of others. Now, building self-esteem is a journey, not a destination. It takes time, effort, and a whole lot of self-love. If your partner is struggling with low self-esteem, encourage them to celebrate their accomplishments, focus on their strengths, and practice self-compassion. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Encourage your partner to prioritize their own well-being, and in turn, they'll be able to show up more fully in the relationship. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And remember, relationships can be a little messy sometimes, but with a little understanding, communication, and maybe a good therapist, you can navigate those emotional speed bumps together. Leave a comment below if you have any experiences or tips to share about dealing with emotional baggage in relationships. We love hearing from you. See you in the next video.